Welcome to the Couples Academy show. This portion of it is Ask the Experts. We do this every evening at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Forgive us for being a few minutes late. We just jumped out of counseling sessions and jumped right into the show, and so we thank you for your patience. But this is your opportunity to ask your questions, so post them in here so that we can get down to business. We want to know where you're tuning in from. Rep your city, state, country, wherever you are around the world. And we're going to dive in deep. We only got 30 minutes. So, you don't got to get warmed up. Just throw your question in. But in the meantime, my name is Hassani and
I am Jeff.
Here we go. So let's get into it. Listen, we just came off of this high of the Last Chance weekend, and many of them actually are moving into the Moving Forward program. You used to see us promote the Moving Forward program here on the show, and I tell you, it is filling up, and we're excited about that. And the Moving Forward program is a 6-month aftercare program. After you go through transformation in an intensive, sometimes you need some hand holding, sometimes you need some further guidance to deal with other issues, and that's when you begin to see true impact in your relationship. We believe that, listen, if you give us your marriage for 1 year, you will no longer recognize it. And so that's the benefit of being a part of a community where you're stretched, where you're forced to grow so you can take your relationship to the next level. Listen, I'm going to start off with a question I'm going to ask you, Jeff. We were talking about pornography earlier this morning. It's all a part of the series, How to Break the Cycle of Infidelity. Obviously, pornography is one of the main influencers that oftentimes leads people into adultery situations. It may not be the direct cause, but it is an influence. Based upon the clients that you have worked with, tell me, there's statistics out there about how many men are into pornography versus women, things of that nature. What impact has that type of addiction had on the men that you have worked with?
Well, like you always say, it makes people bad lovers. The biggest problem with pornography is it becomes an addiction and it's not realistic. And if you go seek ways to make it realistic, you're going to destroy your family. And so I see that over and over and over again. I mean, it's the most searched thing on the internet. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Literally the most searched thing on the internet. And what this is truly is a failure in communication between the spouses.
So once somebody has an addiction to pornography, or let's just say it's not an addiction, but it's a habit, what impact do you think that has on the intimacy? I don't mean sex necessarily, but intimacy of that couple.
Well, you start to lose your desirability for your partner because now you're wanting these other things, this other variety, this other look, this other idea. And the truth of the matter is, if you've ever met anyone who's ever come out of the porn industry, they're usually very broken people. And at some point in their lives, they just come forward and admit that this is not the way for them to go. And I've met a few people who live that life in my journeys. And that's just, it's not the same as an intimate love. It's not the same. And
absolutely. Ralph
that's what
says,
we're really craving.
What'd you say?
That's what we're really craving. That what we're chasing is that feeling that we've had when we first met someone. Mm-hmm. And most people just don't know how to keep that alive. It will die down from here and there, but that spark can always be reignited. It's just you got to learn the tools and techniques to keep that alive.
Yeah. Ralph says there's an application to block porn called Detoxify, and it is free. Thank you. I appreciate that, providing that resource, because there's so many out there. I haven't necessarily heard of that one, but certainly something worth taking advantage of. So thank you for that. That's something that you can use. Clancy has a question. I'm trying to deal with the fact that my ex is dating another man. What can I do to stop my mind from going crazy and thinking about everything? I miss her so much, Jeff.
So it's officially your ex. And when we say ex, do we mean ex-wife or ex-girlfriend? As far as you going crazy, you're going to need to get into a place where you're happy being by yourself and you learn to develop your own mind, and really it's an identity issue. Once you get beyond that identity issue, then you can move forward. If she's actually dating another man, are you really trying to get her back? If it's your ex-wife, that's a little different. Is there kids involved? Those kinds of things. But if it's an ex-girlfriend, at some point you're just gonna have to move on.
Another question from Danielle. Are porn blocking apps a necessary step in accountability and control? I would say absolutely yes. I mean, there's a number of things you can do. That is certainly one of them. You can use the power of technology to create checks and balances to keep one from slipping into temptation. As we were talking about, temptation is not sin, but when you fully embrace that temptation, then it becomes sin. So if I'm tempted and then there I am texting or typing, if you will, a porn site, and boom, a pop-up comes. Man, that saved me because I didn't have enough strength to type it. But now that I have this accountability in the form of technology or software, yes, it is a help in my journey to recovery. So I would say absolutely.
At some point, like it's the person who wants to get it is going to find it. But it does help to have, just like throwing out all the sugar in your cabinet, will get you to eat a little better, and putting it all stevia in. Whatever's there and available and easiest access is what you're going to use, and eventually that can help you form better habits. So it's a very good first step. It's not an ultimate though, because someone who's driven by it will find a way.
Yeah. Michael says, after a month of no contact, she's calling me, not leaving a message. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what are you saying? I need more. Are you? Yeah, you got to turn it into a question. I don't know where you're going with that. Let's go to the next one. My question is, how should I respond when my lover wants to co-parent and want to move out of state? Yeah, that's a tricky one. And then I think there's a follow-up to that. What are the steps I could take to regain trust and love that I've broken? I guess. Yeah, last chance speaking. I guess those are two completely separate questions that have nothing to do with each other. But let's go to the first one. Like, what is the nature of the relationship with your lover? You said your lover. So are you in a current relationship with her? Is she a spouse? Is she a girlfriend? Who has the child? Are you co-parenting? Do you live together? Do you not? I think there's a whole lot of questions here, but at the end of the day, it's worthy of a conversation to figure that out. They're moving out of state, so I would imagine that means that there is no more relationship or soon to be no more relationship, and now she's taking a child that you two have parented. That creates a lot of complexity. I've known people who were not married, but yet had children together that had to have some serious conversations, and they had to bring a mediator in to kind of determine what was best for the child and how they could both co-parent yet from a distance. I tell you, when you're physically and geographically away from your child, it does create a strain. It does create a separation. Sometimes children don't understand, where's daddy? Where's mommy? And it can impact that relationship. So whatever you decide, ideally it should be mutually beneficial for all parties involved. Jeff?
And also, I don't know what state you're in, but there are laws. Like, it's not easy to just move and take the child. There are laws, and if you are really trying to be a part of the relationship with your child, you might want to create some legal loopholes. But also, if you've done some things that are wrong, you want to make sure your stuff isn't, that you're tight and that you're really ready to actually stand up for being in the proximity of that child. For instance, I have a friend whose spouse wanted to move out of state as well, and that was blocked by the courts.
Yeah. Let's go back to your other question, Anthony. What are steps that I could take to regain trust and love that I've broken? First of all, let me just say this, guys. We come on every day, right? That means that we have countless videos. We put these videos in a playlist. If you go to the Couples Academy YouTube channel, you can see every show we've ever done. We title each video. We've done countless episodes on rebuilding and regaining trust, So I would encourage you to use it as a resource. And I mean, listen, the Couples Academy show, we have over, I think, 200 episodes. And then Ask the Experts, which was formerly known as Relationship Q&A, we have at least 60 or 70 videos. And so this is a common theme that comes up. And I would encourage you to go back and listen and take notes and implement what it is that we share. But listen, the best way to know how to regain your spouse's or your girlfriend's trust is to ask her. And I say this all the time. Trust building, there are general principles we can give you, but it will show up and manifest differently in your relationship than it will mine, because you're dealing with different personalities, different wirings, different sensitivities, different proclivities. There's all types of things that make it uniquely different. And I think if you become a student of your spouse and you take these questions to her and truly hear her heart and let her guide you through the necessary steps that it will take to win her heart back, boom, you win. Does that make sense? Sometimes we turn our ears off from our partner and turn them on to everyone else. And I would encourage you, turn back towards her and ask her that question, take good notes, and begin to walk that out.
And that becomes the focal point, what she's saying. But I also want you to understand that the easiest way for you not to even have to worry about that is become the best possible version of yourself. So, like, if you become spiritually strong, emotionally strong, where you're not being succumbing to just weaknesses every day, you become physically strong and financially secure, a woman is crazy to leave you. It's only in our insecurity that we do dumb things. It's only in our lack of emotional empathy that we do dumb things. It's in our lack of physical strength that we become unhealthy, and it's in our lack of financial security that we find ourselves putting ourselves in jams that cause all kinds of other issues for ourselves. So work on becoming the best version of you, and while also paying attention to what she's saying, and that should complete the picture for you.
Very, very good answer. Another question from Sean. My husband has always had his affair partner's number blocked. Always. He would only contact her when he wanted to. His affair came out a year ago. Should the number stay blocked or deleted? Well, that's an easy one. That's an alley-oop right there. Delete it. There's no more need for that number to be in his phone, because to your point, if it's just blocked, he has the ability of going in and out whenever he chooses. And so no. There's something called the no contact contract. When you sever all communication with previous partners, affair partners, that is through the form of text, phone, email, social media, whatever the case may be, social interaction. There is no more need to have any connection, any tie to an affair partner, period, point blank. So that should be done tonight, and I expect to hear that it was done based upon this live show. Okay? Here's another question. My husband got a late text. I asked him to prove that it wasn't from a female. He got upset and defensive. Yeah.
What do we say about people that hide?
People who have nothing to hide nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So was he defensive and upset because why don't you trust me? Or why do you want to look through my phone? Like what, but at the end of the day, I mean, obviously the question you're asking is a question based upon a suspicion that you have that needs to be either corrected or confirmed. And he's not willing to do either, because he doesn't even want to respond. But when he becomes defensive, gets angry, and still doesn't show, what that could do is confirm the suspicion that you had all along. And if it's not the case, then he needs to share it. Jeff, I know that there are some people who are just private people. And I think they cause more problems than they need to. They're so committed and married to their privacy, even when they're not doing anything wrong, they give the impression that they're doing something wrong. And it's just...
You shouldn't get married. You shouldn't get married. If you're that committed, like, there is no privacy in marriage. There is none. Like, you're naked in front of the person, you're brushing your teeth together, one person's going to the bathroom, everything's out in the open. I mean, if you can share your genitals with somebody, you can share your phone.
Wow. Can you hashtag that? If you can share your genitals with each other, you can share your phone. I think that deserves, yeah, that's a bomb. Did you guys hear that? Share your genitals, share your phone. I think we're going to put that in quotes. Share your genitals, share your phone. All right, let's go to the next one. What if the ties to a fair partner are work related? Well, now work is a trigger. And because work is a trigger, I think that your spouse needs to be super sensitive and very accommodating to you. We've talked about this in the past that, I mean, the most ideal situation would be to find a new job and to move on, because every time he or she shows up to work, now you are in panic. You're wondering what's happening. You don't have your eye on him or her, whatever the case may be. If not that, relocating to a different office, to a different department, to a different building. If not that, who else knows about the affair? Does the supervisor or the boss know about the affair? If so, okay, that's one story. If not, should they? But then again, depending upon the policy of the company, that could lead to immediate termination. So it would compromise his job, possibly, if he knew. But there needs to be accountability, not just at home, but at work too. And this is where trust, and not just trust, but transparency comes into play. See, now I got to use the power of Facebook. I got to use the power of Marco Polo. I can't ignore text messages. I've got to have a schedule and a routine so that you're not tripping if you've been calling me for 5 minutes and I didn't respond because maybe I was in the bathroom, or maybe I was in a business meeting, or maybe I was. So there's a process to go through if he or she decides to stay. But ideally, we would suggest that they move on. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I always say if you have to, leave the job. Like, I had to do it, and mine was an emotional affair. I just had to leave. At some point, I mean, we didn't do it irresponsibly where I walked in and quit a job. I went and applied out for a whole bunch of jobs, but yeah, I left. That's what you got to do.
Here's a great question. I need help. Wife of 15 years, about to leave. She won't be honest with me about an affair and so much more. Even when I show her proof, she told me she doesn't have feelings for me anymore 2 weeks ago. Okay. I would say reach out to us, guys. This is a situation that may require help. So it seems like you want the marriage. She doesn't. She's not willing to admit to the affair. You're in crisis because you love her and you want it to work. And I don't know if you've done anything to kind of seek help or to go through a process, but when there's this type of gridlock, you need to step outside of what you've traditionally done and try something different. As we've always said, many times couples come to us in this state where one wants it and one doesn't. But for the sake of the marriage, as one last chance, one last try, they will attempt to do something. And I would say, even if they come in hesitantly, even if they come in kicking and screaming, if they've agreed to at least give it a try, you should put all of your effort into a process that can bring about healing and restoration in your relationship.
And this is the one thing I don't always hear in these questions. I know you got a little bit of space, but here's the deal. You really need to be asking yourself, what did you do to cause that to happen? Because even if she did have an affair after 15 years, was there distance created? And now it's just been, my wife felt like I abandoned her for years. For the second 5 to 6 years of our marriage, she felt abandoned. And what was crazy, even though I created it, I felt abandoned too. And so you have to look at those situations and kind of find that within you when you're having a discussion with her about getting help. And like you said, Asani, 9 times out of 10, when men come, it's because their wife is already out the door or about to be out the door.
Yeah, very true.
Someone is too late, and we got to make those moves earlier, fellas.
Very, very true. Here's another question. What can I do to keep my emotions in check after infidelity? It's been 2 years. My wife is pregnant. We're doing better, but have not had counseling yet. And
you answered your own question in the last part of your statement.
Thank you. The answer is in the question. Listen, have you ever broken, sprained, or strained any part of your body It needed medical attention, but you did not go. You just allowed it to heal on its own. You suffered through the pain. Slowly but surely, it got better over the course of time. It went from full of pain to moderate pain to occasional pain to the pain's not there anymore. But it didn't quite heal. And in certain weather conditions, that pain comes back. It's very vulnerable. You got to walk and function a certain way. If you bump up against it, the pain comes back because it didn't go through a proper healing process. And so likewise, when dealing with your emotions, it's the same thing. Your relationship and you personally have to go through a healing process. And so here we are 2 years later with no counseling. Studies suggest that it takes upwards of 2 years to heal from an affair if you're doing the work. And so if the work has not been done, it just prolongs the pain. And there's no, take 2 of these and call me in the morning. There's no quick fix. There's no silver bullet. It is a process that cannot be ignored. So I would encourage you, it's not too late to begin that process. And if you're doing better, you have a baby on the way, but yet you're still in pain and it still hurts, I would say you don't want to compromise your future, but not maximizing your moment in the present by going through a process that could lead to your personal transformation and your relational restoration.
You're speaking to the emotion, but I'm going to make a different comparison. It's like having an oil leak and you're pouring oil in every day trying to make sure that engine keeps running, but that leak keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually you're going to throw a rod, the engine's going to be done, the relationship is going to be over. You need help, brother, get it fixed. If it's your pastor, it's your pastor. If it's your another counselor, it's another counselor. Just make sure they're qualified, that they're living a happy and loving relationship themselves. But you need to get some help with that.
Yeah. Legendary ladies talking to you, Jeff. Sorry, you can't cause someone to have an affair. They make that choice regardless of what is happening. Stop blaming the victim, please.
Oh, I absolutely agree. What I am saying, though, is that we can create conditions that feel like that is okay. It doesn't make it okay, but we can create conditions in our relationships that makes it feel like there's nothing else to do except leave. And instead of having a hard conversation of actually leaving, what people do is they step out. And that, there's feelings of abandonment in relationships. And you're absolutely right. No one causes you to commit a crime. But if someone's hungry enough, they might steal food.
We talk about this all the time. Couples face pressure, similar pressure. Why does one react one way and one react the other? Mm-hmm. So when someone starts punching, kicking, screaming, fussing, fighting as a reaction to the pressure influenced their reaction, but the pressure forced out of them what was already in them. They came into the relationship possibly with certain stuff in them, broken, hurt, pain, and now this pressure is pulling on and tugging on that pain, and boom, I react. So nothing is done in isolation. There's always a contributing factor, whether you in the relationship have contributed to the decision, whether their own internal issues that you have nothing to do with contributed to the situation. And so, no, once again, the person who was unfaithful has to take 100% for the 100% responsibility for their action. But at the same time, there are relational patterns and there's an atmosphere in the relationship that can lean heavy upon a person where there's a vulnerability for certain things to happen. Why do you think divorce happens? When a person files divorce, what do? They're blaming their partner or blaming dynamics in the relationship that led to the divorce. Now, they made the decision. It's 100% their decision to divorce, but there were factors that contributed to it. And that's all we're saying. So it's not blaming the victim. It's looking at everything, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to say that when the person who was unfaithful is 100% responsible for all things that went wrong in the relationship. You hear the difference? They're 100% responsible for the affair, but both parties, 9 times out of 10, have contributed to the state of the relationship. And because of that state, it caused one to do one thing while it causes another to do another thing.
And we're fast approaching. Let's not put our blinders on. We're fast approaching a world that is about to cross the line of 70% divorce. So people don't really have great examples around them of what it takes to be successful in a marriage. And those numbers get more skewed based on the community that you live in, based on the economic condition that you live in, based on race, the race that that you're a part of. All of those factors contribute to it, and these numbers are really high and extreme. And so what we're saying, the reason why we're always saying get help, get help, get help, is because there's not a lot of examples out there to live by. And so when you find someone who actually has a wonderful relationship, they're who you need to get help from. And if they've studied relationships specifically and made it a career like Hassani had, then there's a lot to be gained from putting yourself into those positions. And so people are making bad mistakes because they have bad examples, you know? And if they have good examples and they make bad choices, that's one thing. But if all you've ever seen is failure in marriage, it's hard to learn what a successful marriage should be and what you should be doing in it.
And that's why you have to change your surroundings. You know, you have to change your relationships. You have to change your sources of influence. Like, we all have a center of influence. And so the question is, who's influencing you? You know, one of the things that we discover for many, not all, but for many, the influences that one had growing up were not good. You know, I've heard people say, well, yeah, my uncle, he had ladies on the side, and my mother wasn't faithful to my father, and my siblings, they always was out there doing their thing. And all around me, I had no example of anything that was positive. So when I think about love, and when I think about relationships, and when I think about, you know, marriage, I think about it through a particular lens, and there was nothing healthy. And so now I find myself in an unhealthy dynamic as well, because I didn't see it, I didn't experience it. And so that's why you have to be intentional to surround yourself with people who have what you want. I want something better for my life financially. I want something better for my life relationally. I want something better for my life spiritually. So I got to change my environment and get around those who are living it, so I can glean from their wisdom, their expertise, their how-to incorporate it into my life. SSB says, my husband's circle of friends, they all cheat. And that's exactly my point. Let me tell you something, Jeff. You have a wife. I've known you for a long time. Your wife has absolutely no problem whatsoever you being around me, because she knows that I operate with integrity, right?
That's it. I can go with you anywhere to any hour at any place in the entire world on a plane for a week, a month, or 2 weeks. She'll get mad after a month, you know, but like, I can go anywhere with you because she knows who you are there. And now, before it was just you, now we're in a world where we're around married couples who are committed and faithful to each other. And I can spend time. At one point, I couldn't do that. I could only spend time with Hassani. But now we're around couples who are committed, and that's given me my freedom back. So all these guys worrying about the freedom, maybe you should choose your friends a little better so your wife can trust you. Because when she sees how good this man's treating his wife, and this man is how good he's treating his wife, you're going to get the freedom to go hang out with them fellas, because they know you coming home at a decent hour and they know what you're doing when you're out.
Boom. Pam says, so true. Surround yourself with those who you can glean from. That's absolutely right. Listen, guys, I hope this was helpful. Thank you for your questions. I hope we were able to give you something that gave you some clarity, that helped with a direction or a decision that you're making. And listen, until then, digest it. Sometimes it could be easy in, easy out. We go from one show to another show to another show, and we have all these rapid questions and rapid fire answers. But sometimes you need to just marinate in it, soak and saturate yourself in an answer, meditate in it, roll around with it, ruminate in it until you become one with it, and then implement it into your life till change and transformation becomes your reality. We love you, and we'll see you soon. Peace.